Hello and welcome to the second video in the three-part series on Photoshop 3D. Okay, so now you know how to navigate 3D model, import a 3D model. Now it's time to actually start painting one. I've just loaded in a model here that I've been painting on. To paint on it, all you need to do is select the B key. That will invoke the brush tool and select the color and paint away. There we go. So I'm painting on that model. As you can see, it's being UV unwrapped symmetrically, so the UVs are mirrored. As I'm painting on one side of the model, it's actually updating on the other side. Now, one tip I need to give to you right at the stage now is if you're going to be painting on your model and you have a machine that's not quite that powerful, like you don't have a really good graphics card, you will find incredible brush lag. Okay, so I need to give you a big heads up on this. I would suggest going over to the paint property or the properties panel with your brush tool selected. Make sure that you select the little brush icon here and select projection. Okay, so what texture does is it paints directly onto your texture, and I'll show you that later how to open up your texture map. But at the moment, if you paint directly onto your texture map, if you have a graphics card that's not very powerful, or a machine that's not very powerful, you will find incredible brush lag. And in fact, even with my machine, you can see considerable brush lag. Very, very annoying to work with. So to remedy that, select projection. Okay, projection will update better on slower machines. As you can see, it doesn't update. You're not painting directly onto the texture. What you're doing is you're painting onto, theoretically, you're painting onto a layer above the 3D model. Once you finish painting on that layer, it's projected onto the model. So that will give you much better performance. Okay, what I want to show you is how you can use layers to actually paint on your model as well. Okay, so as I said, the 3D model is embedded into a layer. So if you go over to the layers palette down at the bottom right hand corner here, if I create a layer above my 3D model, I can start painting on that layer. What is great about that is you'll get no brush lag. Alright, so if I come in here, decrease the size of my brush, and I start painting in some detail work, a bit of a highlight here, color select from the model, I can turn that layer on and off. If I'm happy with the result paint over that I've done, what I can do is I can commit that layer to my 3D model by just pressing Ctrl E. What that will do is that will merge the two layers together, and now if I press my V key and rotate around, you can see that the painting that I did on the layer above my 3D model is now committed to the actual 3D model. What I can also do is I can get, say, for instance, the text tool, color like that, and I can type whatever I want. Control T, I will increase the size of my text, move it somewhere that I like, and say for instance if I like that text where it is, I can just press Control E, and that will commit the text to the actual texture of the model. So if I rotate around, you see that text is applied to the texture, which is awesome. Control Z to undo that. You know, that means you can do all sorts of things. Like if I bring in, say, an image from the web, Angelina Jolie's face, Control V to paste that. Okay, I just want half of her head. Just Control J, get rid of the rest of it. Let's say, for instance, this is a model of a head that I'm actually working, the 3D model head. I want to apply a skin texture to that model. What I can do is I can have a layer above the 3D model, reduce its opacity, Control T, bring up the warp tool, you know, and I can warp that image to fit the 3D model below. Or I can use, say, the puppet warp tool. Got a couple of pins here and there, and I can start moving things around and lining up the space to the 3D model below. So I'm happy with it. Press enter, increase the opacity, and then I can press Ctrl E and that will drop that image onto the model. I can also bring in a texture, so Ctrl N, Ctrl V, and stack two windows vertically side by side, with that. Okay, now I can use my stamp tool, pressing Alt, select that image, come over here. Now I can start painting that image onto my model. Very, very handy. One other thing I'd like to mention as well, when you bring your model in, it'll default to having shading applied to it. Now, to turn off any shading that is applied to the model, what you'll need to do is you'll need to go into your properties palette, make sure the paint tool is selected, and come down here where it says unlit. It'll come in like that, with some shading applied to it. If you're going to be color picking from the model itself, you really want to make sure that there is no shading applied to it. So for instance, if I'm going to start select some of this color here, and then I paint it way up there, and then this highlight here. As you can see, there's quite a bit of brush lag on it. Annoying. I really hope that Adobe do fix this up in next iterations of the program, because it has such, as far as I'm concerned, 3D in Photoshop has massive potential. As you can see, you can do all sorts of stuff, and the great thing about it is the tools that we're all very used to, like all the 2D manipulation painting tools, they're all there and they're working on the 3D model, which is fantastic. The only problem is we have to deal with a slight amount of brush lag, and that's about it. Okay, so the next lesson we'll look at actually painting on the UV wrap, the 2D texture. Okay, again, I hope you enjoyed the video and got a lot out of it, and I will see you in the next video.